have any little figs on them?
No, you could take them out. They're nothing.
You don't have any figs?
I just haven't gotten around to cleaning it up yet. Hello. Good afternoon. It is the 2nd of July. And my little fig garden here that I showed before, cutting garden, is doing fairly nicely. I wasn't here to water these things, and it was 100 degrees, it was hot. But I got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of 10. Oh no, there's one, there's a leaf on that one too. So about 6 of them are doing okay, doing well. And let's see, I'm sure that 1 or 2 of the others will eventually show something, but they weren't watered for a little while. It was really, really hot. I'm back into my grafting project, and I've got a little more work to do. I've got quite a few in here now that are graft unions, which I haven't looked at to see if they're successful. I'm sure that a few won't be, and this is not the perfect time to graft, but you can accept, as I mentioned before, about a 50% success rate compared to when you should be grafting in the spring and with dormant wood. But the green wood grafting will work. I've done it plenty of times. My trees are recovering now from the spray that when I use bleach and stuff to clean off the deck, to power wash the deck, and some soap chemicals. It splashed on the tree, but they're looking good now that they're recovering. And again, there's quite a few grafts in here and there, and they're being shaded now by the growth of the tree, which is good. We want that. We want them to stay nice and cool. But I'm going to continue to graft as many of these branches as I possibly can. This is starting to lignify here, so this is a good candidate right here. And some of these branches weren't even here when I started a few weeks ago. So here's another good candidate. I'll get them down lower. And here's a little offshoot from this tree, from that tree. And this little offshoot, I'm going to also graft it. I'm going to graft Ronde Bordeaux onto it. I explained why, because of the nematodes and the proclivity of Ronde Bordeaux to be highly susceptible to nematodes, more so than any tree I've ever grown on this property, ever. I wonder if anybody else out there has discovered that, or if they can verify with their personal experiences that it's so. But in my case, there's no question. I mean, I'm in 7B here, and I've made 3 attempts with beautiful trees, beautifully grown trees, healthy trees, and they all either died or got close to dying, and I had to none of them died. I had to take them out, or they just have a retarded growth to the extent where they're just not doing anything at all. So I need help. So I've decided to graft on rootstock that is more or less susceptible to nematodes. You know, I was thinking that I could very quickly show you, because I get a lot of questions about pruning, and I take my time when I prune. And sometimes, depending on the location, I prune for different reasons or with a different strategy. For example, this tree has been attacked multiple times by deer and continues to be attacked. And so, and I featured this before, in last year and the year before. I've been training it to get as high as I possibly can, which is what I do with all my trees in this location. I try to get them high so that the deer can't reach the new growth and the terminal buds, so that I can get lots of fruit which I am getting on these trees, as you can see, at multiple stages of maturation. And that's good. I like that. That's my purpose. That's my goal. But sometimes I have to sacrifice a certain portion of the tree. So this has been cannon fodder, you might say, down here, because the deer have been coming up and nipping on these and eating on these for the last couple of years. And now I think it's time that these have grown up and the tree's looking better. Look at it. It's looking really beautiful. A little lopsided, but I'll fix that. I'll fix that by pruning this and pruning this back after it fruits. And it's a nice shoot. I might put that cutting in the ground. This is such a healthy tree. It's a beautiful tree. I love this tree. But I might take this out to balance the tree and let these grow a little more on this side. But I'm going to take these out. I could do it right now. So in order to get this to grow even higher, and it, of course, once a tree gets laden with fruit, you can fertilize, and I've done it a little bit with low nitrogen fertilizer. But once it gets laden with fruit, it's not going to grow in leaps and bounds anymore. You're not going to get those whole, high, lanky branches, which I dislike because they're just not conducive to fruit bearing. So if I remove some of these lower branches now, after they've served their purpose of being cannon fodder for the deer and decoy, it would just divert the energy of the tree more to where I have productive fruit-bearing branches. And so that's my pruning strategy here. So I'm going to cut some of these branches off. I might as well just get it on film here or get it on video. Do you want to hold this and I'll do it? Or do you want to do it?
No, you can do it.
Okay, here we go.
1 second.
Right there. Wait a minute. I just, if you hit the wrong button.
Oh yeah, you better
Hold on a minute. Okay. Anyway, so I've taken a little bit of the bottom off. And you see I'm sacrificing a few figs, so what? But it's for the betterment, the long range advantage of the tree itself. So I'm going to take a few more. I'm going to take this branch here and this branch here, but I just don't have another hand to do it with. I have to have two hands for this. So Debbie was a little afraid that she might touch the wrong button and cancel the video. Over here, if she'll hold it for a minute, here's a good example too. Because that's what you need to do. You need to do this. It's so important. It's so very important. It's time now for this Smith tree to be trimmed a bit. And so I'm going to do it. If you could just hold it like that, just for a second. I'm going to take these bottom branches here.
Really?
Debbie's,
Why do you have to do that? You're changing the shape of it.
That's the whole idea. The whole idea.
No.
Hey, she doesn't like it.
I don't like it.
She
like
doesn't
that.
agree with me.
Oh my goodness.
We're having a dispute here in
We don't
public.
agree with anything on these things.
But when it comes to the fish, he would rather probably cut the whole darn thing down.
No, if it's going to be there, I want it to have a...
But Debbie, I want it to grow tall and to be able to avoid the deer. And this is going to be conducive to that purpose. Okay, it's going to...
The more branches you have on here, the more figs you have.
Well, I'm trying to get the shape of this tree. See, I want it to get, more focused on growing high and still having the lateral growth that I need for good fruit production. Mm-hmm. This tree's doing really nicely. This Smith, it overwintered a couple winters now in 7B, which is something that should be noted. And it has no dieback whatsoever. And it's a relatively healthy tree, although it has been attacked by deer. And they've been eating away at it. And one time I got a net, I have it on film, on video, where I got the net in it to try and protect it. There's some of it still. There's some residual net right here. See it? Can you see that? I don't know if you can or not.
I did find one you can cut.
You found one I could cut? Okay.
When it's in my way when I walk.
You sure? Oh, no, we're not. Here's some more netting that got caught in here previously. So it's it's withstood the rigors of a harsh environment, often humid in the morning, sometimes in the morning here because of the nearby water. There's so much humidity on the ground, dew. It's almost like it rained. Sometimes I have to look at my rain gauge to see if did it rain or did it not rain? I don't know. And that's conducive to rust and such. But the trees are doing well. I really can't complain about my trees. I mean, they're doing very splendidly. But they require attention. And there's a time for everything. And the time to start to shape this tree is now. Now, if the deer come along and do some more damage to it, well, like I said, it's something that I've had to deal with for years and years and years and years, and I'll continue to deal with it. But eventually I win that battle by sculpturing the tree, by scaffolding the tree properly and giving it the attention that it needs and deserves. I usually get the tree above where the deer can attack it, and it's a success story after that. Okay, now I've got another subject I wanted to talk to you about. I promised to talk about this, and this is a success story that, quite frankly, I'm surprised personally about. I'm amazed because you will recall in one of my videos, which I will later identify, I don't remember the title of it now, but it was just last year's video. I talked about this tree, and I had a hose, and I had a hose so that when I wasn't here, I put a cap on it, and I put on the end of the hose, and I put a minute, and I mean really, really minute, little tiny, smallest conceivable pinhole in that cap, and it just drip. It was just perfect. Okay, and I put that hose right underneath of the grass clippings, sort of over here. I'll show you. You will see it in the other video. Right back in here, about a foot away from the tree, and I thought that would saturate the entire area so that when I wasn't here, it wouldn't die, because it was so hot back then, and I had some things I had to do. I'm usually here a lot, but I couldn't be. Some obligations that I couldn't get out of, so on and so forth. So when I came back, it was just, the tree was doing magnificently, and I had transplanted it from a pot into the ground in the middle of the summer after the solstice last year, and it took hold. It took root, and it began to grow, and I was so pleased that it did. So I had, of course, trepidation, a lot of concern about whether or not it was going to overwinter in 7P, and I didn't expect that it would, because of the reputation that Black Madeira, and that's this tree. This is Black Madeira. I'm proud to announce this is Black Madeira. There you are. And I had a lot of concern that it would die, because I absolutely refused to cover it or do anything to it. I will not cover a fig in this location, and it will either die back or it won't die back. Whatever nature deals out. I've only had severe deer dieback here one time. It was an extraordinarily cold winter. I talked about it in another video. But I've had dieback by often, and I've had many varieties that were not able to withstand the cold here. Period. And they died. And sometimes all the way into the ground. And the roots would be dead as well. And they were complete failures. They were not able to adapt to this climate. So out they came. I removed them. Many varieties. Stunningly, extraordinarily, amazingly, astonishingly, really astonishingly, this black Madeira survived without one single, well, maybe one little thing right here. Look, there you go. That's it. That's it. It made it. It completely made it. And it's making fruit. Look. It's actually fruiting. In 7B on its own, with no help from me. And just a little mulch, a little bit of grass. Just exactly what you see here is what was here. That's it. There was nothing else here. Nothing else at all. So, I wanted to let the fig community know that just maybe black Madeira isn't as tender or as susceptible to dieback as we were all led to believe. Because here's the proof. And I showed also in a previous video recently that I have a little black Madeira that I planted, three cuttings in New Jersey in 7A, and 2 of them I know for sure survived the cuttings over winter. And all I did was put some grass clippings over them. That's it. I was sure they were all going to be dead. And one of them has sprouted into a beautiful little tree, which is in my last video. Let's Grow Some Figs is the title. And the third one I know has roots because I tugged on it and it's got roots. So is it going to sprout? I think so. But 2 out of the 3 survived and I was shocked. And one of them is turning into a beautiful little tree and growing just as fast as all the trees around it. There it is for you to contemplate. I am very, very excited that I'm able to get this tree, this variety, to grow here on this location, and I'm hoping that I can get through another winter. We'll see. All right, now there's something else. Let's talk about that. I want to show you something that's not so pleasant. You ready? Stick with me, gang. Just a little longer. I'm sorry, we're going to take a little detour from my planned presentation because I'd be remiss if I didn't point this out. This is something I just saw the other day and I just want to show you. Can you look at this closely with me, please? Okay, let me see. Can I shrink this? Okay, I can shrink it a little bit. Look at this Peter's honey. You talk about production, you know. I mean, you've got 2 figs growing in the node in so many locations. Look at this. 2 figs growing in the node all over the place. But let's just look at this. Look at this. 2 figs in the node. 2 figs in the node. 2 figs in the node. Look at this. 2 figs in the node. It's figs everywhere. Look at all these figs. It's such a producer. This tree, especially this particular tree, is just a gem. I love this tree. It's the most, I think, most superior cultivar, honestly, that I've ever grown. Superior in every way. And it has been here for so long, it really needs to be cut back and cut down entirely, which I'm going to do after this fruiting. After the harvest, I'm looking up there. Look at all those fruits. And so many of them have double. You can see them for yourself. Look. It's just so fruitful. There's hardly a place that doesn't yield fruit. Just loves the fruit. And delicious fruits too. So I'm gonna cut this tree down. I'm gonna take this tree down at the end of this season or after the harvest. I'm going to take it down all the way to the ground and I'm going to nurture it back up and select the best and most healthy shoots and bring it back up again. This tree's been here for, you know, I really lost count. I mean, it's well over 30 years, this tree. I think I planted this tree about 34 years ago, but I can't tell you that for sure. That's how long I've been here, going on 35. But I can't remember exactly. But it's well over 30 years, and it's so healthy and productive still. That is what is demonstrative of the word superior to me. Now hold on, I want to show you one more thing, and then I've got to get to work because I've got grafting to do. So what I wanted to convey today is the direction, the course of direction when it comes to pruning has to be appropriate to the need. Whatever the need, if it's deer, if it's this, if it's that. But I wanted to talk about another dimension, I think, of pruning, because in the last video, or the one before, I mentioned having a preference for growing my fig trees with just one single trunk. And that is indeed my overall preference. That's how I usually like to grow my figs. Now, having said that, I want to clarify. Some fig trees, some varieties, seem to be prone to wanting to bush out far more than being able to be successfully grown with a single trunk. And so you're not going to stop that, because the shoots are going to just keep sprouting out of the ground, and eventually they're going to get a little bigger, and it's not such a bad idea anyway. So if you want to bring up 2 trunks or 3 trunks or 4, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You can do that. They don't have to. Here's my Valley San Juan, and you can see I have several coming up. And that's okay, because that facilitated a faster production of figs. And this particular Adriatic is a bit slow on producing figs. It produces plenty of figs, but it comes into its own after about 4 or 5 years. But you get figs along the way, and you get plenty of them. And a lot of these figs are going to grow at different stages. So here they're coming in. So I'm going to have figs all the way up until fall. Look at this branch. See all these little figlets? And I'll get them. They're ripened in this climate. Eventually, I'll get them. See, different maturation stages. That's fine. But still, I wanted several trunks. One of the reasons was also to offset the damage by the deer. Because if you have only one trunk coming up, and the deer come and rub their horns, if the bucks come and do their buck rub thing, they can severely damage that trunk. And so you have a beautiful fig tree that you grew for 2-3 years, and then all of a sudden a deer comes along and rubs it this way and that way all over both sides, and it really does hurt the tree. I'm going to show you what happens when that happens. So in a climate like this, and in a location like this, you're almost forced to yield your preferences over to something more pragmatic, something more practical. Like, you're not going to grow a single trunk all the time. You're going to grow several. And if one gets damaged for any reason, whether it's insect damage or whether it's deer chewing away at it, you've got more trunks. And so the chances of you having a successful tree are increased dramatically. That's something to remember. It's not a bad idea anyway. Again, sometimes I do like the single or 1 or 2 trunks coming up. Here, over here, I have 1 trunk. This is my JH Adriatic. Let's look at the JH Adriatic, because, gosh, it's a great Adriatic. And look how many figs are on this little tree. This tree hasn't come into its own yet. But boy, is it a beauty. And I've taken the time to tie it up, to straighten it out. Let's take a look at it. These are important things if you want a successful orchard, in my opinion. For what it's worth. Head on the chopping block. Don't mind at all. Is that a duck under there? The duck under the house? Anyway, I had to move this tree over a bit and pull it over with ropes. And that's okay, because when it grows all this summer, and we're only 2 days into July, this has a lot of growing to do. But when it's finished, hopefully it will take, no, not hopefully, it will have taken the shape that I've put it in. and it will stay that way. And I'll leave it tied this way all winter long too. And you need to do that, or else you might get a lopsided tree or a tree out of balance. I don't like that. I try to manage things. I do try to manage my trees. This tree's been here a long time, another three decades or more. And I've only got 4 coming up. In the past I had more, I cut them off. Sometimes I had less. Sometimes I've cut some really big ones off. Sometimes it only had 1. But the purpose here, I overlook it. If there's 3 trunks, 4, I overlook it because this is why. Let's take a look. Here's one where I grew. I love this tree. This is my Italian honey. And I grew it in my preferred manner. Only 1 trunk. But look what happened to me. Okay? The deer came along and the deer rubbed their horns. They took all the bark off on this side. Then that wasn't enough for them. They had to come over here and rub this side, all on that side. They really did some damage to this tree. And to top it off, let's go down here. To top it off, some kind of an insect or something. If anybody watching this video is more familiar with this, I'm not, because I rarely have things like this happen to me, honestly. But something got in this bark and started eating away at it at the base. You see that? Oh, I just lost my hat. Okay, let's take a look at this. Look at that. Can you see that, everybody? This caused damage. So with the buck rub, if you add to the buck rub and you add this damage to the bark, you know, it almost girdled the tree. You might say, look on this side. Look over here on this side. Just as bad. There's hardly any bark to carry the. What happened?